Okay, so everyone's heard of DeepL, but today we're going to really deep dive into why it's more than just another translation tool. I feel like we all use Google Translate we need something quick. And DeepL is kind of changing the game a little bit. Even fooling native speakers sometimes with its accuracy and stuff. So I'm super curious to unpack that. How about you?
Yeah, I think what's so fascinating about DeepL is that it goes beyond just swapping words. It's almost like having a cultural interpreter right in your pocket.
Oh yeah, that's what I find so intriguing about it too. How did they even pull this off?
Well, they actually started as a company called Lingway that was focused on online dictionaries, and the CEO, Jaroslav Kudilowski, had this vision for, something more, a tool that could really understand the nuances of language and provide translations that weren't just accurate, but actually reflected the true meaning behind the words.
So it wasn't just League of Senior, some overnight tech magic kind of thing.
Yeah, no, not at all. They actually started with a really strong foundation and then harness the power of AI and neural networks to take it to that next level.
Okay, hold on. Neural networks? I feel like I hear that thrown around a lot. But what does that actually mean in the context of translation?
I think a good way to think about it is a neural network is this complex system that's modeled after the human brain. So it analyzes massive amounts of data, in this case, text and translations, to learn patterns and relationships between words and phrases.
So it's basically learning like we do, but on a much larger scale.
Exactly. And by analyzing all of this data, it's able to understand these subtle differences in meaning, cultural context, even humor, things that can get lost in a straightforward word-for-word translation.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I remember when I was traveling in France, I was using some of their more basic translation tools, and so often it would give me a sentence that grammatically was correct. It just sounded...
Right, and that's where DeepL really excels. It doesn't just translate the words, it translates the meaning, capturing the spirit and intention of the original text.
Right. How did they even make that jump from online dictionaries to Kadit? Sophisticated AI. Was there a moment where everything just clicked for them?
That's interesting. So DeepL actually officially launched in 2017, but it was the pandemic that really catapulted it into the spotlight. Because with that sudden shift to remote work and this increased need for global collaboration, the need for reliable translation really skyrocketed, and DeepL was right there to fill the gap.
It seems like they were just in the right place, the right time.
Absolutely. And their growth has been pretty impressive. I mean, they're handling over 303.5 million visits every month.
Whoa. That's a massive user base. So how does that come out to Kadit, the giants Google Translate, Microsoft Translator? I mean, those have been around for so much longer.
Yeah. So while those are certainly powerful tools, they tend to focus more on literal translations. DeepL aims for fluency and natural sounding language, almost as if a human had done the translation.
Oh, wow. So less robotic, more human touch.
Exactly. And this focus on nuance has actually led to some pretty interesting anecdotes. There have been cases where DeepL translations were so good that they actually fooled native speakers.
I've heard those stories. That's a pretty high bar to reach.
For sure. It really speaks to DeepL's ability to not just understand language, but to understand culture and context as well.
Yeah. You mentioned DeepL Pro earlier. What makes that different from the basic version that most people are familiar with?
Yeah. DeepL Pro is designed for users that have more demanding translation needs. So businesses or professionals, imagine you're translating a lengthy research paper or a complex legal document. You need a tool that can handle large volumes of text while maintaining accuracy and formatting. And that's where DeepL Pro really shines.
So it's about efficiency and handling those really intricate details?
Exactly. It offers higher translation capacity, advanced document handling, and even API integrations, which allow developers to actually build DeepL's functionality into their own applications.
Wow. That sounds like a dream for anyone who works with a lot of text across different languages.
Definitely. And as we delve deeper into the world of DeepL, we'll explore how this API is being used in some really creative and innovative ways beyond what you might initially imagine.
That's what I love about these deep dives, uncovering the unexpected. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's circle back to DeepL's core strength, its ability to understand and convey meaning. I'm really curious to hear more about how this works in practice, especially when it comes to capturing those cultural nuances.
Yeah, it's one thing to say that DeepL understands cultural nuances, but it's another to actually like see it in action.
Right. Do you have like
I share.
an example where it really shines?
Think about translating humor. You know, a joke might fall flat if it's translated, literal but DeepL can get the cultural context and find a way to make it funny in the target language. Oh, that's so important because humor is like notoriously difficult to translate. You need to understand not just the words, but like the cultural references, the comedic timing.
Exactly. Or consider idioms and expressions. Like, you know, a phrase like kick the bucket. That would make absolutely no sense if it were translated, literally. But DeepL can recognize these phrases and find equivalent expressions in the target language that actually convey the intended meaning.
Okay, that's impressive. It's like DeepL has a built-in sense of humor and cultural awareness.
In a way, it does. And it's that ability to capture those subtle nuances that really sets it apart from those more basic translation tools.
It's amazing to think how far translation technology has come. You know, I remember those old clunky electronic dictionaries.
Oh, yeah. They were helpful for like individual words, but for anything more complex, you're kind of on your own.
And now we have DeepL that can translate entire documents, websites, even creative works like song lyrics or poetry. Yeah, it's really opened up a world of possibilities. For example, think about how DeepL's API is being used in travel apps. Like imagine you're exploring a new city and you can instantly translate restaurant menus, street signs, even historical information just by pointing your phone at them.
Oh, wow, that would be a game changer. For travelers, no more struggling with phrase books or feeling lost in translation.
Exactly. It allows for a much more immersive and authentic travel experience. And it's not just limited to travel. The API is being integrated into all sorts of applications.
Oh, like what? What else comes to mind?
Well, online gaming is another area where DeepL is having a big impact. Players from different countries can now communicate with each other seamlessly, regardless of their native language.
Oh, wow. That's huge for the gaming community. It breaks down barriers
and creates a more
inclusive and connected experience. I can definitely see how that would enhance gameplay and foster friendships across borders.
Absolutely. And it also opens up exciting opportunities for game developers, allowing them to create games with truly global appeal.
So DeepL is not just about convenience. Yeah. It's about fostering connection and understanding between people from different cultures.
Yeah, that's a key takeaway here. And what's even more remarkable is that DeepL is still a relatively young company. They're constantly innovating and pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI translation.
So speaking of pushing boundaries, you mentioned earlier that DeepL is working on voice-to-text and speech translation features. Like, what's the latest on that? Is that the next big leap in translation technology?
It certainly has that potential. Imagine a world where you can have a real-time conversation with someone who speaks a different language, just like we're talking right now, without any awkward pauses or misunderstandings.
That sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
Yeah.
Is this technology really within reach?
We're getting closer all the time. DeepL is already experimenting with these features, and other companies are also working on similar solutions.
I am curious, though. Well, real-time translation sounds incredible. Wouldn't there be challenges in capturing the nuances of spoken language, like tone of voice, sarcasm, cultural references?
Yeah, those are definitely hurdles that need to be overcoming. Spoken language is much more nuanced than written language, but with advancements in AI and natural language processing, I believe those challenges can be addressed.
It is exciting to think about the possibilities. A world where language is no longer a barrier to communication would be truly transformative.
It would be a game changer, not just for individuals, but for society as a whole. Imagine the impact on global collaboration, diplomacy, even cultural exchange.
It's mind-boggling to think about, but before we get
too carried away. With the future, let's bring it back
to the present. You mentioned that DeepL is already being used in some creative and unexpected ways.
Oh, absolutely. Beyond those practical applications we've been discussing, people are finding all sorts of innovative ways to use DeepL. For instance, some musicians are using it to translate their lyrics, reaching a wider audience, and fostering cross-cultural musical collaborations.
Oh, that's fantastic. Music is such a powerful way to connect with people. And DeepL is helping to break down the language barriers that often prevent us from experiencing music from other cultures.
Precisely. And authors are using DeepL to translate their books and stories, making their work accessible to readers around the world.
That's so inspiring to see how technology can be used to amplify creativity and share stories across borders. It seems like DeepL is more than just a translation tool. It's a tool for cultural exchange, understanding, and even artistic expression.
That's a great way to put it. It's about connecting people through language and helping them appreciate the beauty and diversity of different cultures.
With all this talking about the backfib, positive potential of DeepL, is there like a flip side? Are there any concerns about how this technology might be used or misused?
Yeah, that's a valid question. As with any powerful tool, there's always the potential for misuse, so it's crucial to be aware of the ethical implications and ensure that DeepL is used responsibly.
What kind of ethical considerations come to mind? I'm curious to hear your perspective.
For one, it's important to acknowledge that DeepL is a product of its creators and the data it's been trained on. This means there's a possibility for biases to creep into the translations, even unintentionally.
Right, that's a critical point we need to be aware of, those potential biases, and strive to ensure that DeepL's translations are as fair and unbiased as possible.
Exactly. And as DeepL becomes more sophisticated, it's important to remember that it's still a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. So it's up to us
as users and as a society to guide its development and application in a way that benefits humanity.
So while we celebrate the advancements in translation technology, we also need to be mindful of the potential pitfalls and use DeepL responsibly. It's a balancing act, wouldn't you say? Absolutely. And that brings us to a really fascinating aspect of DeepL that often gets overlooked in all the excitement about its practical applications.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well beyond its ability to translate words, DeepL has the potential to challenge the way we think about language and culture itself.
That's a profound thought. How so?
For centuries, language has been seen as a barrier, something that separates us. But DeepL, by making communication across languages so much easier, starting to break down those barriers.
Yeah, it's like we're moving towards a world where language is less of a dividing line and more of a bridge.
Exactly. And as we become more exposed to different languages and cultures, we might start to see the world differently, with less emphasis on our differences and more appreciation for our shared humanity.
That's a beautiful vision. It makes you wonder. DeepL can help us connect on a linguistic level.
Yeah.
Could it also help us connect on a deeper human level?
That's a question worth pondering, perhaps by facilitating cross-cultural dialogue and understanding. DeepL could contribute to a more empathetic and interconnected world. And you know what's really interesting is that DeepL might even help us understand our own language better.
Oh, how so?
Well, by seeing how our language is translated into other languages, we can gain new insights into its structure, its nuances, even its limitations.
That's fascinating. It's like looking at ourselves in a different mirror.
Exactly. And that can lead to a deeper appreciation for the power and complexity of human language.
And as DeepL continues to evolve, who knows what other unexpected benefits it might bring.
Yeah, the possibilities are really endless. I mean, think about how DeepL could be used in education. Students can learn new languages more effectively, access information from around the world, and even collaborate with peers from different cultures.
That would be a game changer for the future of education.
For sure. Or consider its potential impact in healthcare. Doctors could communicate with patients who speak different languages. Researchers could access medical studies from around the world. Breaking down language barriers could literally save lives.
Wow, that's a powerful thought.
It is, and it really highlights the broader impact that DeepL is having. It's not just about convenience or efficiency. It's about connecting people, sharing knowledge, and ultimately creating a more understanding and inclusive world.
It's incredible to think that a translation tool could have such a profound impact on society.
Yeah, it really speaks to the transformative power of technology when it's used to break down barriers and foster human connection.
So what will you use DeepL for? I encourage you to explore its capabilities and discover how it can enhance your own life and maybe even the lives of others.
And as you do, think about this. Could DeepL, with its focus on nuanced translation, play a role in reducing misunderstandings and promoting empathy on a global scale?